Hi everyone, my name is Nathan. This is author India Vane, and we are here for our second interview after the release of India's novel, Leave the Light On, a Paranormal Romance. And we're just gonna be talking more in depth about the writing process and just ask some fun questions. But as you can see, we're behind the Lighthouse. We are looking great. So India, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So just getting right into it, the first thing I wanna say is congratulations.
Thank
Your
you.
third book was released, and I just wanted to ask, like, what was that like, finishing the process and just having it out there for the first time?
So this book was a little bit different than the other ones. The other ones were just ideas that came to me here and there. This story, though, this story is one that I held on to for over 10 years. I've always loved lighthouses and maritime history, and I had the backstory of it in my head for so long, and I just didn't know how to work in. I didn't know if it was going to be a thriller or a mystery or a romance. I couldn't tell yet, and so I just thought I'll wait until the story comes to me, and one day it just did, and so I thought this is the right time to tell the story. So this one's been on my mind the longest of any idea I've ever had.
That is really cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think 10 years is a long time. Like, I feel like if I had an idea for 10 years, I feel like I would just lose it and forget about it. So that's really awesome how you have the ability to go back to ideas and flesh it out more. I know you just mentioned that when you were first, like, kind of, expanding on the idea, you didn't know if it was going to be a mystery or a paranormal story. When did you kind of get that vibe that, like, okay, this is going to be more on that spooky side of things, where I kind of wanted to have a little bit more mystery or a little bit more of like a thriller feel to it?
I think that the more you do research into the backstory, the more history I read, you kind of get this, it really felt like lost love to me. And as interesting as the other aspects of the story are, that's the one that kind of, not to make a lighthouse pun, but shined through to me. So that's the story that I really wanted to tell in there.
It's a beautiful, okay, I'm tearing up right now. I think it's a beautiful story, don't get me wrong. There's also dust in my eye, but no, that was, no,
It's
thank you
okay,
so much
the
for
dust.
sharing. No,
The dust.
it's a beautiful story. And I think there's definitely something about lighthouses that I think have a very isolated and maybe a creepy aesthetic to it. I think the idea that lighthouses are literally created to stop ships from crashing into like land, I think it creates this really ominous vibe where it's like, okay, well, this is like thing that everybody is looking out for, ships are looking for it. There's people that are literally like dedicated to running the lighthouse, and all it is just a building that stands in the middle of an isolated area, and we just see a light going around and around. So I definitely think, just throughout the history of lighthouses, there's always been a little bit of an ominous energy to it. So I think it's really cool how you kind of capture that and turn that into a novel, where I feel like in this novel, without getting into spoilers, of course, for those that are going to read it,
Yes.
I think it's really cool how, while the characters do take the center stage, I feel like it always goes back to the lighthouse.
Yes.
There's always a center moment where you realize, like, okay, like if the characters are going through a tribulation, the lighthouse is there watching them. If there's something spooky happening, the lighthouse is somehow mentioned.
It's like a character in its own way.
Exactly, yeah. Definitely the scariest character in the book, in my opinion. I think the lighthouse definitely had that energy, and I really picked up on it in the beginning. I know we're getting into the character side of things, and I wanted to ask, I know you said that as you were writing the story, the plot kind of took its own direction with knowing what vibe you wanted to give it, but did any character surprise you by taking the story in a direction you didn't expect?
I think that honestly, my plan for Theo was a little different, and I think that he kind of stepped into his own a little bit more, and kind of really took on more of an involved role. I kind of thought he was going to be just more of a supporting side of it, but he really stepped up, and he really stepped in there and became a really integral part of the story.
Absolutely. When I first started reading the book, I was very protective of Odessa, like especially in the beginning. I'm like, I don't want any of this, like I don't want any BS. I want people to be good to everybody.
You're like, be careful, girl.
Exactly. And meeting Theo, I was like, okay, like let's see, like, and I think he was very interesting because I think he had definitely you writing it, I think you did a great job at kind of explaining Theo's side of things without it kind of getting in the way of Odessa's story as well. I feel like while these two are two very different characters, they definitely interlap with each other multiple times, and I actually think Theo is the coolest character. And I
Oh,
definitely
good.
enjoyed like reading about Theo and stuff. And I think, you know, the fact that he loves history, I think history in general is a cool genre of just like just subjects, and I think him being an appraiser for like artifacts and stuff,
Yeah.
it's like so cool.
It's a cool job.
I think it's a cool
Yeah.
job too. I think I'd have a horrible time appraising though, because I feel like I would think everything's like extremely valuable. You know, if
I
it
am
was
right
like,
there with you.
yeah, if I saw a sock
Yeah.
from the 1600s, that sock is the most important sock ever.
Yes.
This needs to be a museum, and I feel like I need somebody else to be like, it's just a sock. Like we should probably throw that away.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool how like Theo is like really locked in at his job, being able to look at things and be like, oh yeah, this is valuable. That isn't. I think a maritime museum as well, I think is really cool. How
Yes.
people just have a bunch of things of like ocean and regarding boats and just people that just live on sea. Like I think that's so crazy. I don't know if you've ever seen the show Deadliest Catch,
Yes.
but there was a moment where I was really interested. I was like, wow, these guys just live on boats and just catch stuff? And then you see like the gigantic waves. I'm like, oh no. Never mind, I'm okay with just being
You
on
see
land.
one TikTok of the North Sea and you're like, I'm okay.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
good.
You know,
I'm
now
good.
with AI, I know we talked about this in the last interview about like dreamscapes and like you know, listening to
Yes.
music. I don't know why on TikTok I get these scary like ocean TikToks where it's like, oh, Cthulhu's in the ocean
Yep.
coming out, or like, oh, the biggest wave ever. So I definitely think there's a little bit of fear as well that's implemented in the idea of like being out there in the ocean and just being vulnerable with something that we don't really understand. This actually goes into our next question,
Perfect.
and I wanted to read this quote to lead us to our next topic.
Okay.
So this scene has our protagonist Theodore talking to an old inn owner about a supposed haunted island. When seeing doubt, the inn owner says, "Not a believer, She decides. "Careful, dear. Lots of us take it very seriously. The past runs deep through these generations, and ghosts are nothing but walking pages of a history book you've never read." And I just thought the quote was really interesting, and I wanted to ask if you can elaborate on that.
Sure. I think that sometimes we look at history as something that happened so long ago, and there's such a detachment there where you're thinking of this is how it is now and that's how it was then. But every day is history to the next day. So all of these historical figures that we've read about, you know, they were somebody's neighbor. That was somebody's, you know, it's somebody that you bumped into at a market or a general store. And so some of the people that you meet every day, you'll never know if those are the people that someone will talk about later on in life, or even if it's not a massive historical figure of, you know, importance for history books or anything like that. Everyone is history to someone. So, you know, anything you do, people will talk about tomorrow.
Right.
You'll be remembered for. So I kind of think that living history is something to always think about. It's just everything that you're doing. You know, it's that quote, "What you do today echoes through eternity," or something like that. So it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
That ripple effect, that everything that you're doing connects to something tomorrow, to the next day, to the next year, to the next generation, to, you know. So it's just, I'm one of those people where if I go to a historical location, it takes me a second to settle in, where I think you have that moment where you just go, right where I'm standing, 100 years ago, somebody stood right here. 200 years ago, somebody stood right here. You know, the doorknob that I turn is the same one that, you know, so it just kind of puts that, instead of saying far away, it makes you part of it. And then in 50 years from this point, someone will say the same thing, and you'll be part of that for someone else. So it's just that connective piece that keeps us all on the same. Did I get you emotional?
No, you got me emotional again. That was actually really good. No, please keep on going. Oh man, no. Every time you like go on to a little bit of a speech, it's like I get teary. Like it's such an emotional thing. But yeah, no, I totally get you, and I think there's different types of history that really holds different forms of legacies or significance. I think if you compare living history and then you kind of go into the subgenres of that, like for example, family history.
Yes.
I think recently I just had a trip to Fiji and my family's from there.
Oh.
And yeah, no, it's really cool.
get
It's such
you.
a, yeah. It was really cool because I stood in front of my grandpa's old house that he built from scratch for his family. And I got that same feeling
Yeah.
where, you know, you start thinking like, it's not 100 years ago, but the fact that somebody in my family did this for like his immediate family when they were growing up, and my dad lived there, my uncles lived there. And you see that house, and it's like, of course, like compared to today's standard of housing, like it's definitely not the same. You know, he built it from scratch in the later like 1900s. But the fact that you can just see the history, like my dad would be like, oh yeah, we used to play in the backyard over there, and he would point at the fields. And I got that same energy that you're talking about. And I definitely feel the same way when we go to like historical locations. I went to Washington, D.C. last year.
Oh, yeah.
And I started tearing up reading the Declaration of Independence. And I think it's so corny. I mean, I'm a big fan of National Treasure with Nicolas Cage, like as a kid, so that movie always had a special spot in my heart. But just seeing a document or just seeing something that other people touched and it had such a profound legacy that we talk about today,
Yes.
I think that's really beautiful, because humanity, you know, for every person, there's one thing that's certain, is that we're all born and we all die at a specific moment. But it's what we create and leave here on this planet that really has that lasting.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, I
Exactly.
totally get that. And I feel like this kind of goes into like history and like, and especially like more of the paranormal and stuff. But I know in the last interview you mentioned that you've had a fascination with the paranormal history, the past. And I wanted to ask, like, have you ever seen a ghost in person, or do you have any spooky stories?
So it's funny. I've been asked this before because I love horror. I love spooky stories. I love ghost tours. You know, all of that. And I just had this conversation with someone as well. Have I ever seen a ghost? No.
Okay.
I have a theory.
Okay.
I think that I am too excited about it, that they will not get joy from appearing to me because I would not be scared. I would be too excited.
We're safe.
Yeah. I think that if you're a ghost and you're trying to, you know, get a reaction out of somebody, somebody that says, oh my God, I knew it, is not really the reaction you want.
Right.
So it's probably, I always said, you know, they don't want the person that's gonna provoke or run after, or they want someone that will be scared because it has a more of effect.
Right.
So, you know, not to make this worse for you, but you're a better candidate to get haunted than me.
I'll tear it up again.
It's, you know, not to put that on you, not to put that juju on you, but I mean, you're a better candidate for a haunting than me.
Right.
I'm the one that says, oh, I heard a noise, let's go check it out. And you're like, no, please don't put me in her group because I don't want to do that. So, no, have I seen a ghost? No. Would I love to see a ghost? Absolutely.
Okay.
Would I mean, I've gone on ghost tours, I've gone on, you know, paranormal team ghost hunts, I've tried, you know, Ouija boards. I actually have a collection of used ones that I like to have. So any way that you could provoke the unseen, I've probably done it.
Okay. Sorry to hear.
But don't you do it.
Yeah.
Don't you do
I'll
it.
let you do it for both of us.
Okay.
I totally believe that. I feel like you have that connection with the paranormal.
I don't think they want me to. I'd be too excited, I think. Yeah. Or I'd be like, you know what, this is a great book idea. Can you stand still for 1 second? Let me just, you know. So I don't think I don't think their desired effect would, I'm not the target audience.
Right. Out of all the places that you've been to that have been like, you know, like the ghost hunting and stuff, or ghost tours, what place do you think you've been to that's like probably the most haunted, or you definitely feel like there's maybe something there, you just didn't experience something at that moment?
There was actually a series that was done, Scariest Places in America and all of that, and to most people that's like a do not travel, and to me I'm like, oh, this is a bucket list. Like, I love this for me.
Okay.
So one of them was a condemned movie theater from like the 20s or 30s or something like that. And when you walked in, it was with a paranormal team, and it was an event that they had done to raise money on the historical landmark side to fund renovating this theater. So they thought, what better way but to play into the history that it has.
Right.
So I went ghost hunting with the paranormal team. We used all of the equipment. We used all of the things that you see on Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures. And from the stories, it seemed like it would be a good spot. I didn't see anything, unfortunately. Some people said that they felt, you know, something, or they got really interesting spirit box readings, or, you know, heat signatures or EMF detector readings. I didn't.
Okay.
But
Thank goodness.
yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, no, I'm really tearing up right now because that was scary for a
I
second.
did also drive by was it Hotel Cecil?
Oh, here in LA?
Yeah.
Is that the one where serial killer Richard Ramirez stayed?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I
okay.
did drive very slowly by it because it's not necessarily a stop in, you know.
Right.
So I did drive very slowly, and I remember watching the video back, and my best friend at the time, I sent it to her, and she was like, "Don't ever send me something like that ever again." And she goes, "Just the video, I feel uncomfortable." And she said, "It's just feels like I'm not supposed to be there, even if it's just a video."
Yeah.
And so I'm not getting any of that. I'm like, "Ooh, this is a great haunted spot."
Yeah.
And she's like, this is chainmail, essentially. Stop. Don't send me this stuff ever again.
Right.
So I would say between locations of everything I've seen, I would definitely say the Haunted Theater in Illinois, and I would say, based off of everything I've heard of that hotel, that would probably be it, for sure.
Okay. Awesome.
So just don't go to those.
Definitely not going to the movie
just
theaters.
Scratch them off.
Yeah,
for
definitely
you.
not a fan of cinema and not a fan of hotels. Like I personally like staying at motels and inns anyway, so it's fine. But no, that's really cool. I think for me, I've been to some spooky places as well, and I feel like I've gotten some weird energy before. I think for me, my top three. Alcatraz, I don't know if you've ever
Okay.
been. Alcatraz is creepy as heck. I think like the stereotype of like feeling the chills, like when
Yes.
you're somewhere warm, or like you just feel like, when I was at Alcatraz, I heard somebody call my name.
Did
and I
you?
thought it was like a high school person, or like somebody from my past. So I didn't turn around. And I was like, okay, keep on walking because I don't want to talk to anybody right now. I'm on my video tour with like the audio, and like there's a video on the thing where it's like, oh, this is, if you look to your right, you're gonna be able to see where they broke out. But yeah, the thing that really got me was when I heard that, I thought it was just me playing mind games. My cousin and my sister at the time also turned around and they're like, did you guys hear that? And I was like, what? They're like, oh, they said our last name.
See?
And I was like, oh no, like keep on walking. I don't want to deal with that
See,
right now.
it's you.
It's-
If they want you.
Maybe it's my cousin. I don't know. It could be a family thing. Maybe you all got
Maybe.
bad juju. But the second place, I felt it. I actually went with Elias. We went to the Roman Coliseum.
Oh.
Definitely felt like something was up there. I definitely just got bad juju vibes, and I don't know if it was because I was just hangry, but I felt like I was just
That
getting
could
a
do it.
sense of frustration. I was like, I want to get out of here. Like this place is just like really upsetting me.
That could do it.
And then as soon as we left, it just went away. I was like, oh, like I feel fine. Like we actually don't have to eat. So I don't know what that was, but the third thing, this is probably the creepiest one. I went to a shipwreck in Fiji, and this was when they were transporting people from India to Fiji for sugarcane plantation
Yep.
work. And we only were able to see the whole of the ship because the rest was submerged underwater. It crashed onto a reef and it kind of slanted down like that. So only this part was able to be seen. And there were no waves, but the boat was rocking like crazy. And I'm listening to my dad and my mom talk, and my mom's like, I don't think we should be here. And I've always felt like my mom kind of notices some things before other people. So my mom was like, I'm just not feeling it. The kids are here. We should go back. And my dad's like, what? Like, we're here. Let's get out in the water.
we
Let's see."
already made it. Like, let's do the thing.
Exactly. And my dad's friend that was a local in that area in Fiji, he was like, oh, you should look up. And we looked up and we saw a skull in the clouds. I'm not even kidding. Like, I swear we have a picture. It's in a camera that's like hidden somewhere. But I remember looking up and I'm like, oh, that's a face. And my mom was like, that's it. Take
She's
the
like,
kids
and
back.
we're done.
Exactly.
Tap out point.
Yeah, no, mama bear instincts kicked in for sure. And I just remember going back and my mom was like, if you ever see stuff like that, like always just keep an eye
Yeah.
out. You never know. And I was like, oh, thanks, mom. And my dad's like, don't listen to your mother. Like, she's crazy. But no, like, I think, those three instances were where I was like, okay, like something's up. Going into our next question, I wanted to ask, like, what's scarier, writer's block or a demonic possession? Because I know writer's block could definitely be stressful at moments, but I don't know, I feel like you'd be okay with the demonic
I really
possession.
would. I really would. I
Yeah.
think that would be, I think that's something that might be fun. Like for like a Tuesday afternoon, if you don't have any plans, just kind of try that out. But writer's block would definitely be a little more difficult, I think, for me, because the way that I write is, once I have that whole chapter outline, I am just going. And I think the most frustrating point for me, two things. One, either I have the whole chapter outline and I sit there and I've already described exactly what's going to happen, but for some reason I just can't start it, or I'll be stuck on the same page for, I don't even know, like 3 days, and I'm like, why? I've already planned this out. I already know what happens. Why is this so hard? Or I actually have the opposite of writer's block happen. I get too many ideas, and that's just a free gift with purchase for neurodivergence. Is you sit down to write, you're really excited, and then suddenly something pops into your head, and you go, oh, I should write a mystery about something, and you just go off on a you get sidetracked. So that's why I do the writing process in that way with the with the chapter outline and everything, because it keeps me on track. Because I am a, maybe not a queen, but I am a detour duchess. I will immediately, in conversation, on the road, if I see anything, I'm like, ooh, I skirt real fast. So to me, everything is an adventure. And I'm just like, well, it wouldn't be in my path if I wasn't supposed to go discover it.
Right.
So it's that way with writing. If I'm working on a chapter and something pops into my head, my notes on my phone is just absolute chaos, because that's where I put all my ideas. So I'll be in the middle of one book, and now I have fully plotted out a book that has no business having that much of my attention right now.
Right.
But so I would say for sure writer's block, and whatever the opposite of writer's block is, with too many ideas, way worse than demonic possession. I mean, as soon as you said that choice, I was like, but that's the fun one.
Yeah, I could totally picture you just standing in the corner during an exorcism. Like, India, like, can you help? You're like, I actually just had this crazy idea for this person that got stuck in a hospital and it's haunted. Just give me like 1 second. And you're just typing on your phone. Yeah. I'm like, we're gonna die.
And they're like, what do we do with the demon? I'm like, put it in, tell them I'll take it.
Oh my God, I'll take it home.
I'll take it home. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh gosh, you with the Ouija boards and everything, I feel like that would be so scary. That's actually my next question. Okay. I just feel like Ouija boards, like when you have done something like that with Ouija boards, like have you ever felt like it was moving on its own, or did you because you know how people say like, oh, it's you moving it. Like if you're doing it with people, I feel like subconsciously people will be like, they'll like move it. But what do you think?
For the sake of spooky.
Okay.
For the sake of spooky, it's not me moving it. Okay. For the sake of it is for real, like it. I mean, I've never had it move on its own. I've never felt that it moved on its own. Okay. Have I convinced anyone else at the table that it did? Yes. Oh immediately, yes, because it's funny. But no, I have never, and I have even picked up one on the side of the road, and because I felt, again, it was put in my path, it should be mine, I should take it. And it's like a puppy, it's lost on the side of the road, it needed a home, and of all people to appreciate it, it's definitely me. Yeah. So,
please don't pull out a Ouija board right now. If you're like, oh, I have it in my bag right now, like put it down right here. Like, let's speak to the Lighthouse. I'm like, no, thank you. The Lighthouse is pretty quiet right now. I don't think it wants to talk.
But no, I haven't, personally, I haven't had any experience like that.
Okay, that's good.
Are you relieved?
I just feel like the fact that Ouija boards like in Walmart are made by the company Hasbro and stuff, it's really hard for me to feel like there's like bad energy attached to it because they make Barbies and stuff. But I could totally see, like, for example, I work at an elementary school, and one kid came up to me and she was like, oh, we actually found a Ouija board in the middle of the field. And I was like, no, you didn't. And she was like, no, we took pictures. And I was like, we don't have to see, okay. I was like, delete the pictures, delete all of that. We don't need to talk about it.
Salt the earth, everyone go home.
Exactly. And then she was like, yeah, it's really funny because apparently a plane crashed into the field a long time ago and we were trying to speak to it. And I was like, do you want me to call your parents? Like, do you need to go home right now? I think you need to get a seance done or something. Like, get some sage lit and like just start walking around, because that is just really scary. Oh man, I just feel like that'd be such a great idea for a story though. You know,
I know,
think
I already-
somebody that
yeah.
is with Ouija boards and they're like, oh, like somebody else moved it and it was actually like a ghost moving. Like that would be so creepy because I think it'd be one of those things where, you know, everyone's laughing about it and you're eating dinner and you're like, you know, isn't it crazy how it actually spelled out a word that like we've never heard before? And you know, someone would be like, yeah, you know, I thought that was you. I'm like, no, that wasn't me. Oh, over. Like dinner's quick, everybody pay and leave. Going into our next question, I feel like this would be fun.
Okay.
Would you rather spend the night on a haunted island in a scary lighthouse or spend the night in a spooky graveyard?
Ooh. They both sound like so much fun.
Yeah, your friend, Christy, you're laughing too much right now. She probably dropped something.
Because
scary.
she doesn't do spooky.
I see.
I do the spooky. Honestly, I would probably say, because both sound very fun to me,
Okay.
I would pick the Lighthouse.
Okay.
Just because I love, I think the types of ghosts that you would get, or the types of experiences you would get, I think I would have more fun with the maritime type.
Yeah.
So
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I think it would be really fun, and I think that the stories that you would hear, or you know, ghost ships or anything like that, I would be in for that.
You know, I remember like in the book club that we have on BookBase, one of the users said that, you know, they're getting a Minecraft feel when they're
Yes.
staying at the Lighthouse.
Yes.
And I think it's funny because I'm the same with Minecraft where it's like, oh, I want to find an isolated area.
Yeah.
And as soon as you hear zombies, spiders, and skeletons, it's like, you know what? I think I want to go back to my
Yeah.
friends. Let's create,
You know, we're
create a
good.
town.
We're
Go
good
look for
here.
villagers. Yeah, so I think that's really cool. I personally would just not choose. I think I just go home.
Yeah.
But I think the Lighthouse would be, I think you have a, well, I don't know, because I feel like graveyards, you have a higher chance of meeting something because of the quantity of like.
Yeah, you have good
dead
variety.
things. Good
Yeah.
variety. But I feel like Lighthouse, I feel like if you do see something, it would be one heck of a spooky thing. Like I feel like
Yeah.
it'd be like a spectral ghost or something.
Yeah.
And at that point, you know, if I see like a maiden in like, you know, like a bride's dress, like walking down like on the island, I'm like, oh, okay, that's their island. Like, you know, that's their honeymoon spot. Let's not take that, you know, that's for them. I definitely think that like, it'd be more scary to spend a night like in the Lighthouse though. Imagine if the lights turn. Oh my god.
See?
Yeah. No. You know, like I think that's cool how you're just really a big fan of the paranormal. I think there's a definite allure to it.
Yeah.
I think at some point in your life you definitely have a ghost phase. Whether
Yeah.
it's like when you're a kid and you're really
Yes.
fascinated, or if you're an adult and then you start getting into it. I got into horror in high school because there was this one friend that I had, and he said that the same way that comedy movies make you laugh, horror movies should be making you scared. So that means they're doing their job.
Oh.
So if you are getting scared, that means that you're the target audience, and that's
Yeah.
okay. So ever since, I feel like I've been a lot more open to getting scared and seeing creepy stuff. This past weekend, Elise and I went to go watch a horror movie. It's called Weapons. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
seen it. Good movie. Like, I don't want to spoil the movie for those that are watching this, but there were some scenes like, you know, when you usually see like, I just think kids in general, like
Yeah.
creepy stuff, and kids, no,
Yeah.
dolls, no, Annabelle stuff, like I'm not a fan. And I think that movie, like I just saw a little bit of too much of like, you know, kids like running around, and so I'm like, like, you know, I'm close to Elias, so I'm like, hey, like, you know, can you hold me? He's like, dude, get away. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. You know, I just feel like in a movie theater where it's dark and really loud. Super spooky. But yeah, no, I just think like the paranormal, I think there's always going to be a little bit of an allure for that. Like, oh, I
Yeah.
think it's really interesting. This kind of leads us to our last question.
Sure.
So what's in the future for you as an author after Leave the Light On? And specifically, can we expect more paranormal stories in the future?
So, funny enough, I have my next 10 books plotted
Oh
out.
my gosh, 10, wow.
Yeah. So next on the list, I can at least say the next on the list later this year, before the end of the year, it will be book 2 of the Bright Ridge 6 series.
Got it.
And then I'm hoping for February-ish, I'll have a standalone that's coming out, and that's kind of, I guess, a little bit Black Mirror-ish, because it's like a dark side of the tech industry when it comes to ChatGPT, but there's of course a love story in there. I can't not have a love story in there. And then in the summer, I'm looking to bring in book 3 of the series. So I just kind of want to sprinkle in standalones here and there, because if the series isn't for you, if I just stick to that, then it's kind of there's 6 books in there,
Right.
and then there's really not anything for anybody else until that's done. So I have a lot of other ideas that I want to sprinkle in. So is there a paranormal one coming? Yes,
Okay.
because I had so much fun doing that, but not necessarily ghosts. It's going to be a little bit more of an adventure style. So let's just say, how do I teaser this? Let's say if what Indiana Jones was looking for had a curse with it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So paranormal, but more supernatural maybe.
Got it.
And then the Indiana Jones aspect, because I'm an Indiana Jones girl. So mixing that treasure hunter, and you like National Treasure, so
Yeah.
mixing in that treasure hunter aspect, mixing in the, this belongs in a museum, but also that idea of when you disturb a tomb, or, there are those people, like me that are like, eh. There are those people like you that are like, it says on the door,
Don't go in.
not to do it.
Right.
So it'll be kind of something like that.
Okay, that's
So.
awesome. That really reminds me of the whole history behind the people that found King Tut's tomb, and how
yes,
they all
that's what I was
mysteriously.
thinking of.
Oh gosh, I remember reading about it, and I was like, see, this is why you just don't go in.
And I'm just like, this is why you go in. Because look how cool
Right.
it is.
Oh gosh, no, please don't go into any crazy stuff like that. I don't want to go to your funeral and be like, I told her, I said don't go, and she kept on going. But yeah,
So don't do the next interview at a dig site.
I think that would actually be fun. Just like don't go
Would
in.
you do
Like we'll
it?
be outside. Outside, yes. Like I would
You
be
won't go
down to
in?
be out.
A little bit.
You know what? Let's think about it.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm a big Indiana
I'll
Jones
write
fan
it,
as well.
and then we'll see.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
that's
fair. That's a
good
good
deal.
compromise.
Okay.
And I know I mentioned that this was our last question, but
Yeah.
I just want to say, as we're ending this interview, like I definitely sense your fascination for the paranormal in your writing for books like Leave the Light On. And I think that's really important because when I was reading it, like I know I'm a scaredy cat and like, I get scared easy, but there was definitely a sense of like interest where I was like, I still got to keep on going. And I think your ability to kind of make sure that no matter what happens in the book, there's always that last sentence that you always drop that makes you want to be like, I guess I can go for one more chapter even though it's like midnight. And I just want to say, like, you writing this book, you did a great job.
Thank you.
And I'm really excited for other readers, regardless if they find us on BookBase or if they just find your journey, like, as you're becoming an author and you're just writing more and more books. I feel like for those that pick up this book, I think they would look at lighthouses and islands differently. And I think that's a great thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's to add a different perspective. But yeah, India, thank you so much for this
Thank
interview.
you.
Of course. And for those that are watching, please read this novel. Do not read it at night. Leave the candle
Read it at
on.
night.
Or you can just say leave the light on.
Read it at night,
So,
in
yeah.
the dark.
Alrighty, I think we're good.